Hey YouTubers, it's me again, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art. I want to thank all my subscribers, those of you who watch me. I know I have a few ardent, really faithful followers who always comment and watch my videos. I really appreciate it. I know it's been quite a long time since I've been on. It's been a month actually. My last video was a month. It's been a busy month. I ended at school. I've come to the decision I'm taking this term and next term off. I need to get my space together. It was just too much, which is why I couldn't come and be here on YouTube. And I don't know if any of you heard my interview with Guy McPherson, where he suggests that we live with urgency, right? So that's what I've been doing. There's some things I needed to do, and I needed to get well. That was the other part. I was always sick. So I'm much better. I've actually, and I would recommend this to anybody, man, did it turn my health around. Every night or in the morning, you have a half hot water and about an ounce of coconut milk, or you could do coconut oil, and then a teaspoon of turmeric, quarter teaspoon or an eighth of a teaspoon of black pepper, because you need the black pepper, hot water, and I use a teaspoon or two. I actually use 2 teaspoons of honey to sweeten it up, and it makes it like a really nice warm drink, and man, did it make me healthy. So I read it in a British journal. They were talking about that as an Alzheimer's cure they've discovered. And I thought, wow, I wonder if it could help me, because I know coconut's really good for your lungs. So I thought turmeric's good for your body, and boy, did it really help. So we're almost at the end of this year, and it has been a long year. It's been the comeuppance where we realize, like, it's not one party or the other. It's been, we're really realizing that the military is completely out of control. They are completely running the show, and everybody in government is acquiescing to them. And it's been very difficult for me. It's partly why my whole school thing, you know, I was going to school to stop the Price-Anderson Act. I have come to the firm conclusion that it is not going to get stopped. They're not going to stop. Have you guys seen the news about Fukushima? Let me show you something. Let me see if I can screen share with you. I pulled some things up before I got online. Come on, screen share. Let me remember how to screen share. See, I'll be on my dad. Is that all of you guys? No? Well, let's try it. Well, let me see where it's at. Everything is on this, on Foxfire. So, yeah, it's this one. Okay. There we go. Okay, so this was a very interesting story. Did you guys see this today on Vox? This is about RDX. I don't think you can hear the video, so I'm not going to attempt to play it. But look, I'll put the sound off, and you can read this. I'll talk to you about what it says. There was a top secret military program, of course, started in something like 1946 or something. Around this time, they were scaring everybody with Hitler, just like they're going to do with Trader Trump. And check this out, or Kim Jong-un. Research Department explosive. It's one of the most toxic poisons, deadliest explosive ever. It is the most toxic of all of them, next to, you know, of all the chemicals. TN2 is far more toxic. So, of course, they went ahead and had this secret program and built boatloads of them. I mean, seriously, boatloads of them. Guys working on it. It was the hardest thing that they had, and they sold it as the Aunt Jemima project. They called the Aunt Jemima project was the RDX secret weapons. Look at these guys. They are just most despicable human beings in the world to do this. And then what did they do after that? Okay, bomb the daylights out of everybody, and they were like, huh, the EPA says we have to get rid of it. They are calling it a very toxic contaminant. And they are saying this is really bad. Army Medical Research Development 1984 says what? Here, let's see what it says. Oh man, did I stop it? They're saying, look, they're not even testing. Just like they're not testing with nuclear either. They are not testing, but look at this. Significantly different from control group, significantly historical control. Let me see. So what they're saying is that the government, the military is conducting these studies. It says it's safe, but they're having a vested interest because it's their product, right? And the EPA is using it. The EPA has determined RDX to be a possible human carcinogen based on the presence of liver tumors in mice that were exposed to RDT in the food for 1 to 2 years. But the Pentagon went, wait a minute, we got all this stuff. Now what are we going to do? Look what they did to Mapleton, Utah, folks. They knew they were putting it into their water supply for a long time. They knew not to be alarmed, but you might have poison. Trojan Corporation, formerly known as Trojan. Don't be alarmed. Please note the groundwater effort in this letter is intended to either confirm or ensure drinking water needs meets applicable standards. I mean, really. On the other hand, you use the water from your well for culinary purposes. We ask that you contact us immediately. So from your well, no. They're saying what's piped into your house, yes. But look at this. They knew for a long time this is what was happening. Seeps up. Watch. This is unmitigated murder, unlined irrigation. This is what happened in Mapleton, Utah. And they knew it completely, and they built homes there. Just the same bull that they have done to my friend Erica Dugan in Oklahoma. I mean, it is just, it's beyond comprehension. It's beyond comprehension what they're doing to people. I don't think it's Oklahoma. I'm gonna double check where she's at. I'm gonna put her links. 286 times worse than, what does this say? Drinking RDX contaminated water. Eating the fruits and vegetables. There are 2 lawsuits being settled. This is one case. So then let's move on to this. Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. Fukushima nuclear plant. They have gotten approval, safety approval from Japan's government watchdog to open up another one of their largest, the largest nuclear reactor, one of the world's biggest and largest in Japan. So let's see where it is. It's right here. Here's Fukushima, folks. The same company is running this. What will happen if there's an earthquake along this fault zone? Which there have been. They're just going to try to break Japan in half. I want to read to you some of Karl's work. So this is the latest. Toshiba unveils Fukushima Daiichi probe. Blah, blah, blah. Let's try to hear what they said. Okay. The probe is similar to the one used in February, put to prior use to the remotely controlled Scorpion-configured roller robot that was deployed in late February. Several remote-controlled probes have failed and been abandoned as it was feared trying to retrieve them risked having them fail in the place that would further obstruct attempts to examine the wreckage. Do you get what they're saying here? This is the hidden thing. Their probe died. The previous ones have died. Several remote-controlled probes have failed and been abandoned as it was feared to retrieve them. So now they're putting in another one. Toshiba created a new probe to help from the private and public, with help from private and public funded International Research Institute for Nuclear Decommissioning. This is so outrageous they call it decommissioning. I mean, this is the news, folks. Fears of another nuclear disaster, evacuee to sue Japan. You think we should be suing all of the governments for human rights violations? You think that this thing here, the RDTX, you think that's not a human rights? What is it called? RDX? That's what it's called. RDX. You think that's not a human rights violation? This is beyond comprehension. Guess what? It's not just there in Utah. Check this out. This is they're finding it in all. This is why, folks, because the cost, they already pay $70 billion. Do you think they want to add to it? So watch this. They know where it's at. They know how far it's gone. I'm going to find the little where we can see the little map of where it's at in our country because it was a shock. Watch this. Hang on, pecan. Yeah, here, let's go there. Okay, so what they're saying is they were trying to get them to pay for it, but they refused it. So this is they're trying now. They've taken new studies. Now they've decided they're going to study it again, and because of this, Pentagon environmental cleanup is going to cost $70 billion. They've now produced a study that says, oh, it's not unhealthy. Vested interests say yes, it is. Oh my gosh, that's my 15-minute timer that I kept dealing with. So I'm going to keep going. I know I'm close to 15 minutes, but I want you to see this because, man, where's that little map? I'm going to go back here. This was a shock. It wasn't just Los Angeles. They found it in Utah. They found it all over the country. They said something like 155 sites, 155 areas within 5 miles, 150, over 150. And look at the map. Bing! All these places with varying degrees of toxicity. This is such an outrage. Like, no wonder they don't care about the nuclear power plants. Look what they've done with the chemicals. This is just one chemical, one highly toxic, most toxic, lethal thing they've ever seen. And again, part of a secret program. So we have a secret government, secret program. We have a president who doesn't want the media taking photographs of him golfing 3 times, this last week at the cost of. We've already spent what, $10 million protecting him so he could go golfing a couple times. He's gone on 1/3 of his presidency has been on golfing trips. Who is he to say, oh, I'm not going to? If I'm president, I'm never going to go golfing. He's the laziest backstabber I've ever seen in my life. So I wanted to show you this before we get off the hook here because this is super awesome. Karl Grossman, who has been on my show, wrote these really awesome, this really remarkable story about living shorelines. And it was published in the HuffPost on December 20th. And I want to read it. Maybe I'll start a new vlog, but I want you to go here. Take a look at this. This is an amazing thing. He talks about why it's so important for us to how the living shorelines protect our homes, protect our climate, are a way to fight back, like why it's so important. So I think I'm going to stop this because, as I said, I did want to only do a 15-minute video. So I'll stop screen sharing. Oh dear, I have to go where to see myself. There, okay. Hi, you guys. I don't know if you can see me while I'm on the screen share thing, so whatever. I want to thank you guys for following me, and it's actually quite interesting where we've come in this year, how long, what the journey's been. In a million years, I could not have guessed some of the events of this year, nor finding out at the end of this year and really firming up in my head. The nuclear stuff is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. Like going, I almost understand some of these big nonprofits just going for the gold and taking their money, like Bill McKibben and NDRC and all those other $80 million donations. Yeah, we'll take $10 million from the nuclear industry, sure, because they know we're super screwed anyways. I don't know. I think they ought to not take those big donations. I disagree with that, obviously. Put your courage feet on, you guys. It's good to see you. I'm going to come out again tomorrow night, but I'm going to read this article by Karl Grossman because I think it's a good article. But I'm going to do that in a separate live feed tonight. So, ciao, you guys.